So, what's going on? Want to say good morning, good afternoon, good night, whenever, wherever, however you're watching. Um, Before I say anything, talking college, I just want to give all thanks and glory to God. You know, that's first. And while I'm here, I did have just word of the day. I wanna try to do this every time we do a podcast. I want to give all glory to God, and I want to let y'all hear a little something. So let me pull it up here. I'll read it to you. This is James chapter 3, verse 9 through 12. With the tongue we praise our Lord and Father, and with it we curse human beings, who have been made in God's likeness. Out of the same mouth come praise and cursing. My brothers and sisters, this should not be. Can both fresh water and salt water flow from the same spring? My brothers and sisters, can a fig tree bear olives or a grapevine bear figs? Neither can a salt spring produce fresh water. Basically saying, a lot of people out there praise. They praise God, and with that same tongue, with that same breath, with that same voice, they go out and curse and talk down upon and say bad things about God's people that He made in His image. We're all made in God's image, so just make sure when you talking about somebody, or when you talking about somebody you don't like, somebody you do like, just make sure you come with respect, because we're all made in God's likeness, and try to rear back on cursing and being negative and saying the bad things that you know God doesn't want to hear. I got to improve on it. We all got to improve on it. But that's enough of that. And don't want to go too deep into it. Don't want to get too religious here. I don't want to make this all about it. But it is very important to bring that up and make sure everybody knows where we are and what's going on. With that being said, I have 3 things today I want to go over about what I think Auburn needs to do to win the football game in Norman. And it's not going to be an easy task by any means. It's going to be pretty difficult. They're a pretty good football team, but so is Auburn. Everybody want to talk. Everybody wants to talk about, Jackson Arnold versus John Mateer. Obviously, that's the main thing. The guy who left town and the guy who came to replace him. But to me, that isn't where the football game is going to be won. I mean, it plays a part, definitely plays a role, but at the same time, I don't want to get too caught up in Jackson Arnold versus John Mateer, because I got to be on the field at the same time. They both got their offenses that they conduct, and both of them have to do their own thing on their side of the ball. It's not like John Mateer is throwing up on Jackson Arnold, and John Mateer is going up against middle linebacker Jackson Arnold. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. So the key things that I think Auburn needs, to win this football game, and each thing kind of has multiple meanings, multiple things that need to happen. So I'm saying 3 things, but I really mean more like a lot. But with the first thing, I think they need to win time of possession. Auburn has to win time of possession. And what I mean by that is, Auburn has to have lengthy drives. They can't just go 3 and out. They can't just score on 4 plays. They can't start at the 50-yard line, get a first down, get ahead of the sticks, and then not move the ball 2 downs in a row, and now you got to kick a field goal. That's not. I need to see from the 20 all the way to the end zone, lasting about 12, 13, 14 plays for 6 minutes, 7 minutes. We need those kind of drives to win the football game. And yeah, that's obvious. But what I mean by those deeper meanings is, number one, you have to win in the trenches. If you want to make that happen and win time of possession, you have to win in the trenches, starting with the offensive line. You got to protect your guy in Jackson Arnold. You got to open up the run lanes, which they have been doing at an elite level, in my opinion, up until this point. Um, you know, so I think that is very possible. Oklahoma has a very good front seven. They've played excellent defense up until this point. How good is Michigan? Really, we do not know. We'll find out more about them as the season goes on, and we'll learn how good that win is. But as of right now, we don't know. And Auburn's going into that unknown, and they have to be prepared for whatever they see. They can't worry about what Michigan did and how Michigan handled it. They have to be worried about how Auburn's going to handle it. So it starts with, just them winning up front against that front seven, creating run lanes for Jeremiah Cobb, Damari Alston, and even Jackson Arnold when he does have to sprint. So they will have to do that. That's number one. So run the ball successfully. We can't just take two-yard gains. We can't average 2.3 yards per carry. We can't do that. We have to get over 115 yards if we even want a chance to win. That's as a team. We have to get that many yards. We have to be able to run efficiently, successfully, and with a purpose. And then it's the same thing on the other side. If you want to win time of possession, if you want to control the football game, you have to get the other team off of the field. And that also starts with your defensive front. That also starts with the defensive line. So, you want, and from the looks of it, Oklahoma has multiple offensive linemen not playing Saturday. Multiple starting offensive linemen not playing Saturday. And that's a huge deal if you're the Auburn defense. You see that quarterback, you see John Mateer, and he's not being protected very well, you need to get after him. And when I say that, I mean Auburn cannot let John Mateer run all over the field. He can't have 70 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns like he did against Michigan. We can't let that happen. And if it does happen, we're probably going to lose. If he executes as a dual threat quarterback, I do not see Auburn coming out of this game. We have to stop his legs. He's an excellent runner. He's an amazing runner. He's a great athlete. But, if we can contain him, if we can keep him in that pocket, if we can get pressure and force him to throw the ball, I like our chances. I think, given the circumstances, I say if he throws for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, an INT, and he isn't that good of a runner, I think Auburn wins. You tell me that right now, he's not. He doesn't successfully run, and we hold him to 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 INT. I think we win the game. I do think John Mateer will throw a pick. I think he might throw multiple. I think Auburn has that kind of defense that can force turnovers. So that'll be seen. Auburn's DBs have looked shaky at times, especially that box, especially the safeties and the linebackers. So they'll look shaky at times, but I expect our guys to come together and not play amazing, not play perfect obviously, but to play pretty well. I expect them to have a pretty decent game, pretty solid game. And that's another point where if they don't, we're probably going to lose the game. If we're letting 40-yard bombs happen consistently, we don't stand a chance really. Jay Crawford, his health is very important. He's questionable. I hope he plays. If he doesn't, I think we're in trouble. That's something to look out for. Other things to do to win the time of possession. Everybody's saying, there's people saying, Auburn's got to throw deep shots. They're not explosive enough. They're not this, they're not that. If Auburn keeps getting those 4 to 5 to 6 yard gains every time, why are we mad? If the defense is stopping the deep ball, but we're getting 5 to 6 yards per catch, why are we mad? 4 yards 3 times in a row is a first down every time. I'm not going to complain about 4 yards per pass. I'm not going to complain as long as it's a consistent It can't be 4 yards here, incomplete. You know, it's got to be 4 yards, 4 yards, 4 yards. But it doesn't have to be explosive. Yes, it's more exciting, but non-explosive can equal to more efficiency. And I think the key to winning this game is going to be that efficiency. If Jackson Arnold gets in there, gets comfortable, starts to get a little bit animated, starts to get confident, and he's just hitting the easy shots, and he's not trying to do too much like Peyton Thorne would do at times in this Auburn offense, I think we very easily walk out of there. I don't want to say easily, but I don't think it will be as difficult as it already is if Jackson Arnold comes in there and is very consistent with delivering the ball, delivering it on time, delivering it where it needs to be, and not trying to do too much. That's point number one. Winning the time of possession, and I think all of those reasons I just stated goes into winning the time of possession. So second point of emphasis on what Auburn needs to do to win this football game is first down success. Auburn has done really good so far with getting ahead of the sticks. Last year and the year before with Payne Thorne and the way Hugh Freeze was calling it, he was too busy trying to be too cute on first down. And I think he's realized that. He realizes the team that he has and realizes that they're ready to compete. We're ready to win. We're in a win now mode, and he's on the hot seat. He has to prove it that he can do it, and so far this season, they've been really efficient on the first down. I've enjoyed it. Getting ahead of the sticks is one of the most important things, to do with your offense. If you're setting yourself back to second and long, third and long, now we've got a problem. But we also have not faced a defense as good as Oklahoma. We might not face another defense as good as Oklahoma for the rest of the year. And so when you say things like that, it's just more important. It's just 10 times more important than it was before. And so to get started early, to get rolling early, you have to be successful on that first down. To get Jackson Arnold in the groove, to be able to do what he does, to be able to find himself being animated, to find himself feeling a groove, you have to be prepared to win on first down. I want to see Damari Austin. I want to see Jeremiah Cobb. I want to see Jackson. I want to see these guys running the ball efficiently on first down, especially. Easy hitch routes, easy drag routes, slant routes, RPOs, good, nice RPO plays, screen plays. I need to see things that set us up for second and medium, third and short. And if we don't do that, Auburn's just going to lose the game, because if we keep putting ourselves in second and long and third and long, Jackson Arnold's not going to be able to keep up. He might show some hero ball. I do expect him to step up this week. I do expect him to show the world that he's a good quarterback. He's a great quarterback. I think Jackson Arnold so far has proved that he's an excellent decision maker. Yes, he holds on to the ball too long, but look at the turnovers. 0. He hasn't turned the ball over once. And so I'll sacrifice him holding the ball too long every once in a while, so that way I know that we're not going to turn the ball over and we have it for the next down. And when he has held on to the ball too long, he has escaped or gotten the ball away. Do I think he's going to make a mistake this week? Yes, I do. I expect Jackson Arnold's first turnover to come this week against Oklahoma. 1,000%. If it doesn't happen, once again, I think if that doesn't happen, we have an even better chance. But that's all wishful thinking. I'm more so saying the things that if we execute that is right within Auburn's hands, not the picks, not the Jackson Arnold getting tricked by Brent Venables' defense and throwing a pick like Peyton did last year with the game on the line. I'm not saying that's a little bit out of game planning. Obviously, you don't want to do those things, but sometimes you do them. And I'm more so saying these are the things that we need to do to be successful within the game plan. So winning on first down, that is very important. Setting ourselves up, second medium, second and short, third medium, third and short. That's very, very important. And then the third thing that I would say is bend, don't break on defense. Obviously, Auburn's defense has not been the best. It has not been elite within pass coverage. It has not been elite within the 20s. But where Auburn's defense has been elite is number one, the run game. We've been excellent in stopping the run. Number two, sacks. We've been excellent in getting sacks. I think we're top 5 in the nation. I don't know exactly where we're at, where we're ranked, but I believe it's top 5. I think it's 3.7 sacks per game. That's over 10 sacks in 3 games. So we've been excellent at those two things. And then we've also been excellent, elite, I would say, amazing at red zone defense. And, when you have a guy like DJ Durkin, that's just it is what it is sometimes. DJ is the type of guy he's gonna let you run your offense to a certain extent so he can feel it out. See, it's kind of like a boxing match. He likes to, okay, that's what they want to do. That's what they want to do, and then he's gonna remember that. And so when it comes fourth quarter, he's gonna hit you with that counter that you didn't expect. And then that's how DJ Durkin works, and that's okay, as long as he holds it within the red zone. We have to force field goals. We have to force turnovers. We can't let them just get down to the red zone and then execute. Both teams, Auburn and Oklahoma, are perfect in the red zone. Does that scare me? No, not really. I think Auburn is a better team than Michigan overall. Like, I don't think there's, specifically one thing that Michigan is better at than Auburn. So the whole Michigan thing doesn't really scare me. But once again, we don't truly know how good Michigan is, and we don't truly know how good Oklahoma is based on that Michigan win. LSU beat Clemson the first week, and then Clemson almost lost to Temple, and who did they just lost to Georgia Tech. I'm not taking away from Temple. No, they didn't lose Temple. Whew. But they did lose to Georgia Tech, and I'm not saying Georgia Tech is not a good football team. But they don't look like the ranked team we thought they were. And then LSU struggled against Florida. So how good is LSU now? Like they almost beat a rough looking Clemson team, and they almost beat a rough to bad looking Florida. DJ Lagway threw 5 picks, and they only won by 10. So I'm just saying, like, don't let that Michigan win be. Don't overstress that Michigan win if you're an Auburn fan. If you're in media, if you're rooting for Oklahoma, if you hate on Auburn and you're just trying to prove a point with Oklahoma, don't look to that Michigan game to try to point a finger at it and be like, look at what they did against this team that was ranked top 15. Because quite frankly, like I said, we don't truly know. And so all of that will be figured out when we get there, when we get to game time tomorrow at 2:30 in Norman. But the best part of their team has obviously been John Mateer. No doubt about it. And, when it comes to that bend don't break, we cannot let him scramble all over us when, the pocket breaks down or when the receivers are not open. So when we get chances to stop John Mateer, we need to execute. We need to execute. This is not like I want them to execute. This is not like it'd be nice if they executed. They need to execute. They need to take him down, sack him. They need to contain him. They need to force him to throw the ball. Force him to make bad decisions. Force him to get out of his comfort zone. And if we can rattle John Mateer, that's another area. I don't think, if John Mateer is rattled, who's going to step up? The run game isn't impressive. I don't think they have a super amazing wide receiver room that anybody's just going to go get a 5-yard little drag and take it all the way to the house. I don't think they're that impressive. And everybody makes plays. I'm not saying that they're not capable of that. I'm just saying, If we stop their playmaker, we stop their dog, who's gonna step up? And honestly, if you were to tell me that we we held John Mateer, if we held him in a bad position all game, if he was in a bad position all game and he couldn't get into no rhythm, I wouldn't be surprised if Oklahoma just got rattled and didn't know what to do, didn't know what was going on. And we'll see what happens Saturday. But that's really all speculation, and I'm just talking. I'm just a man with the mic. You know what I'm saying? So, but you know, I think those three things are the most important. Um, I don't really have much past that. Obviously you can sit here and talk about turnover battle. You can sit here and talk about all kinds of things that obviously you need to do to win a football game. Yo, if Auburn outscores Oklahoma, they're gonna beat them. I've cracked it. I've cracked the code. So, you know, I really think it's gonna be a good game. I think, it's gonna be close. I think in the fourth quarter somebody's bound to make a mistake. And I'm banking on that mistake coming from John Mateer, who's thrown 3 picks so far in the year. And those three picks have come when he's protected in the pocket. He's throwing a pick every game. I'm banking on him to throw 2 against Auburn. I do believe Jackson Arnold's going to throw one of his own. I do see that happening. I mean, Brent Venables watched Jackson Arnold for essentially 2 years. He knows the weaknesses of Jackson Arnold. He's going to hit him with something, and Jackson Arnold's going to try to force it in there, and he is going to force a turnover. I do believe that's going to happen. You tell me right now, though, that Jackson Arnold throws for 230, 240 yards, a touchdown or 2, and then rushes for 60 to 70 yards with another touchdown or 2, Auburn's going to win that football game. And I believe Jackson Arnold is going to put the world on notice Saturday on him being a really good quarterback, potentially putting his name in the Heisman hat. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but, he might let people know who he is, why he was a 5-star coming out of Texas, 5-star plus at that, and show why he had the opportunity he did at Oklahoma. It just didn't work because of the things Oklahoma had around him. But look, once again, it's all speculation. We're going to see tomorrow, 2:30, in Norman, in Oklahoma. An electric crowd, an electric, it is one of those environments in college football that if you've never been there before, be prepared. Be prepared. This is the first game. And this is a cool stat for you guys. Take away. This is the first game in Auburn history that has been played inside of the state of Oklahoma. Hey. So, we about to find out if we perform good there. If we don't, if we're winners or losers. I don't really have much more to say. Let me go through some of these other games that are going to be playing tomorrow. I'll go through some of a couple predictions. Tulsa and Oklahoma State are playing right now. Tulsa's up 13-3. I might go turn that game on right after I hop out of here. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Let me tell you some of these good games. Well, we talked about Texas Tech and Utah. Me and Garrett both had Utah winning. We'll see how that goes. Arkansas plays Memphis. Got Arkansas. We went over all the SEC teams. Syracuse and Clemson played. Clemson really needs to bounce back. Dabo has to show something here. They're 1-2 with a chance to go down 1-3. If they lose to Syracuse, things might get ugly this season. SMU and TCU, I think that'll be a pretty decent game. TCU's got a really electric offense. So does SMU. SMU's looking to bounce back. They lost to Baylor, um, which we're as Auburn fans, we're Baylor fans right now. We're hoping they keep winning. So SMU, I think with Kevin Jennings, they're gonna have a good game. I think they'll beat TCU. But TCU is very electric as well, and if they do win that game, I would not be surprised. Tulane, Ole Miss. Oh, we went over. Duh, we went over that. We went over Michigan, Nebraska. Purdue, Notre Dame. That's gonna be an easy win for Notre Dame. Let's see who else. Hmm. We went over Miami, Florida, Illinois, Indiana. I think me and Garrett talked about that. I think we both have Indiana winning. So we'll see what happens there. A game to keep your eye on. Big one I want to talk about: Baylor, Arizona State. As an Auburn fan, I want to see Baylor win every game for the rest of the year. I'm not lying. So I hope they can beat Arizona State. Arizona State, that's a pretty decent team. Sam Levitt he's been okay. I'm not gonna say he's great or anything, but if Sawyer Robertson can lead that offense to a win, which I think he will, I think that's a very elite offense. I think the Baylor Bears do not get enough credit on how good their offense actually is. I think they're up there with like a team like TCU, with a team like SMU, as they proved when they did face off. I think Baylor will be ranked by the end of the year. They should be. I think they'll be in Big 12 championship talk. They might even be in playoff talk. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Um, Sam Houston versus Texas. I know we talked about the SEC already, and I said I wasn't going to bring any of them up. But with the way Arch Manning has been playing, that's a game to watch. If he plays a game like he did against UTEP, who knows what'll happen? Who knows if he'll continue to be the starting quarterback? Who knows if he'll get benched? Who knows if they'll lose? Who knows? So that's that. I'm not saying they will. I still think Texas will win, but it's just a game to keep an eye on. I think Michigan State upsets USC. And yeah, that's all the interesting games really. Cal and San Diego State. I don't know much about San Diego State. Cal has looked pretty decent so far. Their quarterback's solid. He's making plays. So who am I to hate? Really, with that being said, I've been Troy, my boy. Okay, now I'm Troy. All right. With that being said, I don't really have much more to say, and really not much more to speak on. I hope all of you have a blessed day. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment. Tell me what I need to improve on. Tell me if you like the first episode. Please go watch the first episode if you haven't already. Me and my boy Garrett made that video. He's got a lot more insight. USC gonna win? That's what we thinking? Hey, Michigan State upset. That's just what I got happening. While we here in the chat, if we got a Q&A, go ahead. We got a couple questions we want to ask. I'm okay. USC gonna